I just don't know enough, really, to be honest, to say that I need it or I don't.
Tonight, flipping the switch on the conversation about COVID-19 vaccines.
Seems like it's rushed. That's the distrust.
We introduce a Metro Atlanta mom hesitant about getting the vaccine to 4 medical experts.
I think hesitancy is totally okay and totally normal.
She decides the questions to ask.
You should have questions.
She conducts the interviews.
The number one question is,
We'll share what she learned and whether she plans to get the vaccine.
Do you have a decision?
my decision would be
Good evening. COVID-19 vaccines are in the 3rd month of distribution in the U.S. While millions want the shots as soon as possible, others are not so sure. Health officials say if not enough people get immunized, it could prolong the pandemic. 11 Alive's Andy Parati follows a vaccine-hesitant mom, drawing her own conclusions.
Welcome back to Squawk Box, everybody. We have some breaking news from Pfizer.
Pfizer executives are calling it one of the biggest medical breakthroughs in the past 100 years.
The vaccine showed to be more than 90% effective.
The process of the speed did not compromise at all safety.
There is still a significant portion of the population, about half in this country, that remains defiant about actually getting the shot.
It's a decision that requires trust in science many of us know little about. Something Joy Howard from Gwinnett County, Georgia, has thought about for months. She's 40 years old, works in insurance, married with 2 girls, and believes COVID-19 is a real threat.
To be honest, it seems like a death sentence, even though I know that's kind of extreme. But I mean, you're hearing people die from this.
Afraid to get infected, but not confident to take the most 2 widely available COVID-19 vaccines in the U.S. Here's a quick recap. The vaccines currently available are made by Pfizer and Moderna. The Food and Drug Administration issued an emergency use authorization for them in December. Both require 2 doses and report about a 95% effectiveness, and both were developed in less than 275 days. Vaccines typically take 15 to 20 years to make.
It seems like it's rushed, but I know there's a need for it to be rushed. So then you think about, okay, well, what steps or what requirements were taken out in order for them to get this through quickly. But I just don't know enough, really, to be honest, to say that I need it or I don't.
Up until a few weeks ago, Joy and I didn't know each other. We connected after I emailed the moms in our newsroom writing,
"Searching for a Metro Atlanta mom hesitant about getting a COVID vaccine."
Oh, thank you.
Stick it on the skewer.
3 days later, Joy invited me to meet in her backyard.
The goal is to get it on fire, right? And then you blow it out.
She's used to having a glass of wine by the fire, but we settled for s'mores because TV rules or something. She's a pro. Me, not so much.
Oh man, that is really hot.
Especially while trying to eat with a face shield.
Oh, did you see what I just did? Oh, God, I just did it again. This is a fail.
Nope, you're just getting back on the horse.
And back to the subject at hand. Like many in the Black community, she's skeptical of getting a COVID-19 vaccine. A survey of Black adults in December conducted by Kaiser revealed only 35% said they would get the vaccine. Some of the participants cited the infamous government-backed Tuskegee syphilis study conducted in the 1930s. The study enrolled 600 Black men, including 399 who had syphilis. The men were tricked into believing they were getting free medical care, but were just observed instead. Dozens died.
Does that play into this at
yeah.
all?
Number one. That's the number one overall. That's the distrust.
Hesitant, but still willing to learn more. And over the next 4 days, she'll get to ask 4 experts all of her burning questions. She's the one asking the questions, and she has a lot to ask.
Is one better than the other? Can a woman breastfeed if she had the vaccine? Has anyone died, you know? How you doing? Hello, Joy.
It's now time for Joy to get to work and put one of our experts in the hot seat. First up, Dr. Jane Morgan.
And you're Joy?
Yes.
Dr. Morgan's resume is long. A cardiologist by training, currently a scientist with Piedmont Healthcare in Atlanta as its clinical director of its COVID task force.
Okay.
So I guess I'll start with the number one question is, if you've had COVID-19 before, do you need the vaccine?
Right. So the answer to that is yes. You still need the vaccine. It's unclear how long you have immunity or if you have immunity.
Have there been any studies or anyone saying that they got the vaccine but still tested positive for COVID?
Sure. So you can test positive for COVID even after receiving the vaccine. There are generally two scenarios for that. One is you actually had been in contact with it before the vaccine and didn't realize it.
Right. Okay. That makes sense.
Or you came in contact with it just after receiving that first dose and you didn't realize it.
Dr. Morgan tells Joy she got the vaccine herself a few weeks ago with little to no side effects. She then explained the Moderna and Pfizer vaccine trials had a higher than average Black representation of volunteers, with some promising results.
The only subpopulation that had zero, and I mean no, reports of a positive COVID infection was the Black population.
Dr. Morgan tells Joy something important about the vaccines you don't hear a lot about. These vaccines are not technically fully FDA approved yet. And the reason for that is because the pharmaceutical companies are still tracking people who participated in the vaccine trials.
We don't have that data because the United States and the world recognized that we were in a pandemic within an emergency and decided to approve the vaccines based on their safety profile and based on their efficacy, meaning that they were safe and that they worked in preventing COVID.
For now, it's just an FDA emergency authorization.
And could the vaccine potentially protect against different strands of the coronavirus?
So as far as we know, it's protective against all known strains.
No. Okay.
Currently, when people think about mutations, they think something's coming
Yeah.
bigger,
Yeah.
angrier,
Yeah.
crazier.
Yeah.
But actually, in science, the word mutation just means it's changing.
So I thank you.
Time to check back in with Joy after her interview.
So when we first started this process, you were right in the middle. You weren't a hard no or a hard yes. Where are you right now in that needle right now?
Well, the pendulum is swinging a little bit closer to not minding to take the vaccine.
But that's not a yes or no, and there's a lot more Joy wants to know before making a decision.
Coming up, Joy gets a chance to understand more about children and the vaccine. Plus, her conversation with a doctor who sits on a CDC committee that helped determine how the vaccines are used.
Didn't know that. So that is hopeful.